Hi everyone, this is the Incept Connect podcast. I am John Osberg, growth strategist at Incept Digital Marketing here in downtown Buffalo. Today I am joined by what I would consider entrepreneurial royalty, and that is Kevin Dawidowicz of CoachMePlus here in Buffalo, New York. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Good to see you.
What's going on, brother?
Oh, it's a busy day, busy weeks, busy year.
Yeah, I love your branded shirt. You're looking sharp.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Got the dual. I usually wear the dual. I should have worn my Whoop knowing that you'd be wearing your Whoop, but I didn't. But I love the dueling wearables, and I love everything you're doing. And I think we should just jump right in and start talking about your path to now and who you are and what you represent with CoachMePlus.
Oh, fire
Let's
away.
hear it.
So CoachMePlus was, born out of a necessity, obviously, out of like most things are. I personally had a marketing company before this, right? We were doing CD-ROMs and DVDs and websites and things like that, and that was back in the early 2000s. And we had just completed a CD-ROM for the Buffalo Sabres. It was the season ticket holders. They put it in there, and the swords clanged, and lots of highlight videos and things like that. It's the Hashik years, so it was so good. I know,
glory years.
I know. So the strength coach gets a hold of one of the CDs and gets my number and says, "Hey, can you put workouts on a CD?" And I'm thinking, yeah, this is easy, no problem. So we go meet with him, and I had a background in high school sports. I had friends who were in competitive bodybuilding, and we would go train with them and do all the events with them and things like that. So this fitness kind of mindset was already in my lifestyle. And sitting in the room with him and kind of whiteboarding all these ideas on how to build out a model and build block periodization and all these other things inside there that are concepts that usually strength coaches are pretty familiar with, but the general public isn't. He was pretty excited that I knew what we were talking about. And from there we built that first model. So kind of did that for a couple of years, knowing that there had to be some sort of online way to do this, some sort of digital way of doing this. And the joke in the office at the time, this is like 2005, 2006, it's like, oh, people are gonna bring their laptops to the gym and Hulk out on the Hulk out with their laptop. And I'm like, I mean, we gotta figure something out. Like there's gotta be a way to do this. And of course, mobile devices just took off, and you're off to the races. So we built the first prototype back in 2010. The partners in the company, my brother, who's Michael, who's just like this back-end wizard for software development, and Stephen Ostro, who was actually our first intern, who became like a lifelong friend and is now a business partner, just all dove in on this, and literally nights and weekends, still running the other business, like all the things that you think of when you're first getting into the startup space. It's like, I'm gonna work out of my bedroom and just pull all-nighter. We did all that. We literally did that for a good 2 years. But the interesting thing was we had really good paying customers. So the Buffalo Sabres were our first customer. We sneak into the NHL Combine. So it's in Toronto, and it's literally in like this warehouse next to the airport. The guys are doing their 5-10-5 runs on a carpet. This is the infamous pull-up year when Sam Bennett couldn't do a pull-up. Like all these things are like happening, and we sneak into the room. Yeah. And we're sitting in the cafeteria, and other coaches are going by, and we've got our little cheat sheet of the coaches. Like, hey, are you the guy from
San Jose or whatever?
Columbus? And sure enough, we signed 2 more teams: the Oilers and the Blue Jackets.
Wow! And
the Oilers are they're still a customer of ours. They have long-standing, over a decade. We've got all of their historical information in the system.
And he connects with Connor McDavid.
We can see it. We do have his career in the system, a very highly secure platform that obviously if anything ever got out, we would all be executed on the spot in Edmonton.
Fly to Alberta there.
Public hanging. Probably.
Oh man, that is so cool though.
So we just kind of took off from there. It was a surprise to us that the the pro sports space was really like on the leading edge of this. And, we signed our first NFL team. It was the Philadelphia Eagles. When Chip Kelly brings, sports science into the NFL, he chose us. Like, that was like the gold stamp of approval. And it just kind of grew from there. But what had happened was, if you're working in pro sports and you're the head coach of some NFL team, you bring your staff with you. And if your quarterback's in the AFC Championship game and he throws an interception and everybody goes home, you might get fired. And if you get fired, so do we.
Yeah.
So you have a very short window with these organizations. In fact, like for instance, we just signed with the New York Giants. Brian Dable goes there from the Buffalo Bills, brings us with him because they have familiarity with the platform. But the Giants were actually a customer years ago.
Right.
So like you end up with these cycles of working in professional organizations in professional sports. And that was a hard lesson to learn because it took a good 3 or 4 years to understand, like, oh, wait a second, we're not going to survive this coaching change, are we? Like, the guys get fired, you're out the door, and it's like, okay, how do you re-engage and how do you get back to that, that same relationship with the sports?
What a unique factor in the sales cycle, right? Like, you get the
so
sale,
weird,
just because of this one game or whatever it might be. Well, we're done here, right? It's not very traditional, if you will.
Completely.
That's so cool, though.
And you know what? Like, we serve a population of strength coaches who work their butts off. Like, they are their first light. They're the last guys out. They're in the gym all day. They're really working hard. And their success is not determined by their ability to keep these guys healthy and keep them on the field and keep them playing. Their success is determined by the outcomes of wins and losses, which they have no effect on. So you take a look at that and you're like, okay, this population who I love working with is undervalued. It doesn't really have that job security that you would expect when you're at that level of profession. So what happened is, we go through sports, we go through universities, and we're kind of trying to find our way. It's, we raise our first couple of rounds, we do 43 North, we're on the stage when ACB wins, we win, we win our prize as well. And, we're just like figuring out, we need to go into fitness, we need to go into healthcare, we need to go into health and wellness, we need to transition from a pro sport type of mindset into just a larger audience. The problem is, and this is pre-pandemic, 95% of a gym's revenue happens inside the gym, meaning that personal trainer wants you to come in, they want you to buy a membership, they want you to never use the treadmill, hope that you buy the membership and go home. Or if you do use the personal training services, that you go in there for the sessions and actually sit down with folks and do that. They did not want an interface of technology. When the pandemic hit, the entire market shifted.
Gangbusters. Completely shifted.
And now you take a look at this and you go, people not only accept the watch, the Whoop, the phone, or a Ring, there's beds now that have data.
I heard about this.
Yeah, Peloton, like all of these things, just got sunk into people's homes, as well as dumbbells and
all that stuff.
You couldn't buy any, right? Like everybody was buying them.
$1,000 for a pair.
Right.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah. Just the 5 pound ones, right? It's like with a coffee can if you wanted to. But
that's good.
Basically, the entire industry shifted like underneath us, which was a massive opportunity for us. And now we find ourselves using the lessons that we've learned in professional athletics, the understanding how to engage people from an app standpoint to get them to want to look in here and do the things and track the information and so on, and actually have something useful on the other side. That whole paradigm has now changed, and the entire industry accepts that I need to have some sort of connected data with my fitness, right? Like if it doesn't have, if your new equipment doesn't have something connected to some app, nobody cares.
Right.
Well, that's finally permeated into, health and wellness and fitness and the other industries where they are looking for solutions like ours to serve their markets. And that's been the big shift for us over the past, I'd say, 5 years.
Wow. What were some of the lessons you learned in pro sports?
So when you start getting into larger populations, our first steps from, going with 60 football players or 30 hockey players. Baseball was a little bit bigger. You had like maybe 200 or so. Universities, you had a couple hundred or so. We started working in the military, and our first contract was with the Navy back in 2017. And what they were looking for was, literally what we had as an application, but some modifications to be military specific. When you got there, and you started dealing with populations that were using the application voluntarily, or there was no direct connection between us and the user. You're talking thousands of users as opposed to a handful or a few hundred or whatever it might be. We had to learn to be a better app company, right? So we went from this enterprise system that did a lot of configuration, a lot of manipulation of data and dashboards and things like that, down to it's got to be usable,
right?
Taking clicks away, getting down to like one button, solutions and things like that. So for the Navy, we built a nutrition tracker, and it works a lot like MyFitnessPal. I can look up a food, I can barcode scan, has to be like that fast, has to be that quick. And if it isn't, we're not going to use it.
Right.
So the lessons that we moved from, that we learned from sports was having something that can be configured to the organization that you're working with. So you've got the business rules baked into the solution. Two, you've got to have a cool interface that has leaderboards and awards and, we have like Instagram style posting now and feeds and things like that you're just like, that doesn't look like pro sports, but it still has the same effect. It has usability. People are actually interfacing in the application. So that's been the biggest transition for us.
Got you. What, imagine you've got, right, an audience of business owners, entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs. What are some of the lessons to date that you've learned and the building of this business that you might want to impart on those types of people?
It's interesting, like the motivational posts of like your, the Stoics and the, just keep grinding and work through it and like all these things. That's true. That's absolutely true, right? Like nothing beats the dedication, discipline, working through, we don't do all-nighters anymore, but when you first start, you do. Nothing beats that. But that only provides you with the opportunity when the opportunity opens up for you to actually be able to execute. There's a little bit of networking, a little bit of luck, and a little bit of just, grind that has to happen for you to break through. The first couple, we were blessed with those pro sports teams to be able to like throw the logos around and say, hey, we've got this, but it didn't change our fortune, right? Like we would do like a local ad campaign in Pittsburgh. Hey, the Steelers use it, so should you. Nobody cared, right? Like it was just like, this isn't working, right? Like so you think like, okay, if I just work hard, I'll do it. It is a little bit of luck and a little bit of network.
Yeah.
And luckily, we now have a network that is very, very strong. So people know who we are as a brand. And now they're finally looking for solutions. The interesting thing about our industry, and it may or may not be unique to whatever industry other entrepreneurs are working in, is that our population that we serve is a little bit transient. So a strength coach who works at a gym may also move on to a university and become an assistant or a GA or something along those lines. They may also be a personal trainer. After their career grows and they get more certifications, then they move into higher end athletics possibly, so bigger universities or pro sports teams. Turns out they also work in the military. Turns out they also work with corporate wellness and all these different places, and they move from organization to organization with the same problem in mind, and that is, how do I, as a coach, connect to my athlete in a way that's useful? And maybe that'll. So let me set up like what CoachMePlus does.
Yeah, please. Let's hit it.
I know we kind of skipped.
No, it's good though. I love
through all this.
The genesis though of it is so exciting and interesting. So what? Yeah, let's define what that is then.
So we saw each other in the hallway. Like, you got your Whoop on, you got your Apple Watch on, you got your Garmin on.
Yeah.
It's great, right? Like, this tells me I need to sleep more, and this tells me I gotta take a breath, and it's
workout, whatever.
Great, awesome. When my Apple Watch says it's time to go to bed, it doesn't know that I've got 2 toddlers at home, and I'm running a business, and I got to travel, and we're remodeling our house, and there's all of these things that are going on that I'm not going to sleep at 9 o'clock. It's just not going to happen. No. So how does that help me beyond telling me it's time to go to bed? After a while, I'm just going to ignore it, which I do already. But
the honesty. What
we do is we take that data and we interface through here to a coach. Yeah. So it might be your personal trainer. It might be, if you're in corporate wellness, it might be like who that coach is. In the military, they have support teams. Whatever it is, there's somebody on the other side who then sees that I didn't sleep well last night and then can modify my training for me. So, okay, you're pretty fried. You just spent 3 days on the road. Good thing you avoided McDonald's and you went for Panda and got the Super Greens instead.
Sure.
Good job. Like, you did all those things like you're supposed to. Yeah. So that information's going to my coach. Good. He also knows I didn't sleep well. He also knows I was just on a plane for 8 hours because I got canceled twice and things got moved around. Oh my God. And he's going to, when I come home, change my program for me to deal with that. That is the magic of what we do. We provide an interface for athletes and coaches to work together to achieve their fitness goals. Like, that is the smallest piece I can give you on what it is that we do.
Fantastic. So you've got military, you've got pro sports, you've got college, you've got corporate wellness. What about, let's say, an individual like me? Can I interface at an individual level yet with CoachMePlus?
We've considered going down that pathway several times. The problem is we just walked by a room that had a tonal in it, and
around the corner.
My next door neighbor has a Peloton, and somebody else has downloaded my Fitness Pal. Yeah. The competition in the consumer market is so tense.
It really is.
And the amount of capital we would need to raise to enter into that space to provide the solution is dramatic. Like, we could pull it off if that was the direction we're going into. Tell the big enough story and raise enough money to do that. But we've already found our niche, and our niche is serving large populations through the technology. So interestingly enough, I'll give you a great example of a military population that we just left. It was 1,000 soldiers. Mm-hmm. They had a team of 2 to 3 practitioners who were basically in their care. We had 90% compliance of them logging into the application, doing the activities. Wow. We had drill sergeants running like push-up challenges and things like that, and like literally like doing the selfie video, like, hey, I'm doing my push-ups, are you? And motivating their groups to do so and everything else like that.
Gamifying it a little bit, right?
Gamifying it a little bit. And they're using the application to serve that population, to basically get them from 0 to 1 when it comes to fitness standards. Because a lot of these folks, the military population looks a lot like the US population when it comes to obesity rates, when it comes to all these healthcare issues, but they also have the added layer of musculoskeletal injuries because they're doing a lot of training, a lot of rucking, a lot of running, jumping out of airplanes. Like, there's a lot of things that are going on. So when I think about our existence as an organization and the why of what we do, we have the ability to affect the wellness and health of thousands to tens of thousands to potentially, in the military, millions of people who are serving our country and protecting our freedoms through technology. That's so cool. And you think like, okay, do I want to go after the consumer, or am I really doing service here to like help a population that that can be helped.
Well, it's focused too, right? You know where you're gonna win, and you've already had a proven track record now for what is it? Almost a decade coming up on?
Almost a decade. It only takes 10 years being overnight success.
Yeah,
so
that's right. This overnight success stuff kills me, man.
I always laugh. It was like, yeah, the Beatles. They came. I was like, yeah, they played in Germany for like 5 years,
right?
And then before that, they were playing in their mom's basement.
Right.
So like they didn't just come on stage and love what they do. Like it was like no, they spent years together honing their craft before they actually became successful. And the same thing for us. Like we had a lot of false starts and a lot of attempts at like trying different markets. When you've been around for this long, you'll find, in conversations, what if you tried this?
Oh,
what if you just
thought of this?
Have you thought of this? And you're like,
it's draining.
And you pull, and I know where the spreadsheet is. I know where the campaign folder is, and I can just literally go to it and go, wait, not only did we try it, but
here's the results.
Here are
the results.
Yeah. And so you end up learning all these lessons through failure to get to the points that succeed. And you'll find, as an entrepreneur, you'll find the difference in the feeling of the relationships, because you're no longer pushing on the idea. It's actually pulling you towards it, pulling towards you. And when we're meeting with organizations now, I don't have to sell the idea anymore. They know what the idea is. They just want to know, does it work?
The particulars, yeah.
Yeah. So now the industry is pulling us. So the military is pulling us. Corporate wellness is pulling us. We have fire and safety groups that we work with, police groups that we work with. We're getting into corporate wellness. There's multiple pilots that are out there right now where you talk. There's this great population in Australia. They're gold miners, literal guys that go 5,000 feet down with their pickaxe. Okay, they don't have a pickaxe, but with their pickaxe. Just imagine the story. They got their pickaxe. They're singing hi ho when they get down there, like they're
like the 49ers.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we have those guys too. They're a customer. I should introduce them too.
There you go.
So they get down there. It's 100 degrees because you're down in the earth now. They are. It's a 45-minute ride from the top of the hole down to the bottom.
My God.
They're working 10-day swing shifts. So they're like 10 days on for like 10-hour days, and then they swing to a different shift and then come back and like all this. These guys are under nutrition, severely dehydrated. All the things that you consider when you think about just like basic operation. They're going down there, and they're in a hole in the ground where every mistake turns into potential injury or death. So how do you serve that population? And because we can walk into that organization and listen to how they operate, this is the workflow. These are where people set up. This is the things that we need to track. These are the alerts and data points we need to see. This is the intervention that we need to have. We can manipulate the system to format itself around those business rules. So when they operate now, their guys do the same thing that the Indianapolis Colts do. There's a body weight scale. They step on the scale in the morning. They know what their body weight is. They're tracking nutrition, so they're bringing meals with them down into the ground with them now. They're doing their activities. They come back up. They track their body weight, how much fluid they lost.
Wow.
Replenish with, extra electrolytes. Yep. The nutrition information goes to their coach, and then when they actually go to sleep, the 6 hours or so of broken sleep that they get, their human performance person also sees that. So now we've got this worker population in a high-risk environment doing the same thing that professional athletes were doing 10 years ago. And for us, it's second nature. Like, it's very easy for us to manipulate and set the system up. So we're finding ourselves working in these large populations. Workers. We have factory workers here in the U.S. that use our platform. We have pole utility workers. We had a hiking. It was like a hiking group in California. Like the employees were literally climbing mountains with people. Like, so we end up in these unusual places with large populations, and you think, am I doing something worthwhile? Yeah, you're increasing safety. You're increasing the likelihood that folks are going to sleep better, eat better,
perform better. Boom.
And we hear these stories that come out. The the Army lieutenant who was passing out in formation, and they made her track her meals for a week, and they found out that she was only taking in 800 to 900 calories.
Burn a lot more than that.
Right. She thought she was doing the right thing, and it's like, no. You need to be taking in like 3,000 to 4,000. Right. So now they've identified the problem, or the person with their sleep data coming into the system from a wearable device, commercial wearable device that flagged for potential apnea, and the person didn't know it. I'm just getting notifications. I don't know. Didn't sleep well, this and that, and the coach says, this looks a little bit weird. Let's actually monitor this the right way. Give them a real sleep, tracker and everything else like that. It created a moment of intervention to see that, we need to look more closely at what's happening here. Those stories,
keep fueling you guys, man.
It really does. It really does.
Super resonant. So we've talked kind of the genesis, what it is that CoachMePlus is all about, the why, the ethos, the uniqueness of it. What's going on currently? What are some opportunities or some needs of yours that we can highlight on this platform that will make folks aware? I know one of them that I think like most is in the hiring department, so maybe some more thoughts on those areas.
Yeah, I mean, we so it was interesting watching market dynamics as you're an entrepreneur and you live through raising money, building your business, trying to scale, figuring out where the right product market fit is, and so on. And we felt the traction, we felt the traction happening right around the beginning of the pandemic. Everybody went home. Everybody bought the dumbbells.
I was one of them.
Yeah, gyms got shut down, which is, by the way,
it's a lesson that
complete opposite of what you want in health and wellness. It's like, if healthier people are surviving through, COVID, keep the gyms open. But it's a horse I won't ride right now.
Yeah, it's all good.
In any event, the industry was changing, and we felt it change. And we knew as soon as people went back to gyms that they would expect some sort of hybrid experience. I work out in the gym, which now instead of 4 walls should have 3 walls, and that open wall is the connectivity to people's home devices. I mean, there's beds now that have data in them.
It's crazy.
Like we talk about
the ring.
We talk about the Whoop or the Oura Ring or whatever it was. There was a moment where I had Bet-It, which was like a strap that goes underneath your bed.
Yeah.
I had an Oura Ring, a Whoop, a Fitbit, my Apple Watch, and an app that actually listened to your breathing rate and things like that, all running at the same time to see if it would sync up in this chorus of you sleep terrible. It didn't. No. The varying level of subjectivity and objectivity in the data is it's interesting. But here's the deal, right? I had six things in my room, listening for every heartbeat and everything else like that. That was something that didn't happen 5 years ago. So we were going back to the market and saying, hey, CoachMePlus is in position for when the pandemic when the pandemic opens up, gyms are going to open back up again. And everybody that we talk to, I've got the spreadsheet, I've got the names. 125 different VC firms. Oh, if it's not the next at-home connected fitness, we don't want to hear about it. If it's not the next Peloton, it's not the next Mirror, Tonal, whatever, we don't care. And people are going back to gyms. No, they're not. Not going to happen. And in the last year, what's happened? Gym memberships are above pre-pandemic levels. Right. All of those at-home companies, I feel bad for all the people that are getting laid off. It sucks, but they overstretched their understanding of what people want. People need to feel connected.
You gotta be in person.
Right. I can watch a screen at home, but at some point, get me in the room on the bike with 25 other people in a room. The lights flashing, music, the instructor screaming, "Let's go!" That. I get chills thinking.
Juiced.
Yeah. The I mean, you could smell the the hockey bag. Feel you can't replace that with just technology.
You cannot.
And when we think about what we do, we're not replacing that either. You're going to go to that group class. You're going to meet with your coach. You're going to be in those training sessions. You should. But you might also be on the road. You might also want to train at home. You might want to do it in your, do it out in the sun.
But you're not sleeping at the gym either, though, right? So there's so much that happens outside of the gym. You're at the gym for, okay, fine, the fittest of the fit, a couple hours at a time.
Yep.
The average is probably 30 to 45 minutes. And then what about all that other time outside?
23 and a half hours.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. Like,
That's right.
It was, there's the half hour that you have your session when you're with somebody. What's going on the other 23 hours? Yeah. And, that's where the rest of your life is just occurring. Right. I had a nutritionist recently tell me, she's a dietitian with a highly visible special forces group.
Wow.
And she was giving nutrition plans to a couple of the guys who are looking to just make sure that they're eating right and things like that. And she said, I can't be with you when you're the rest of the day.
Right.
I don't know what you do at home. I don't know.
But you will if you have that in your pocket.
Right. And now they still have to track it. They still have to go in and actually scan that bag of, Flamin' Hot Cheetos, which is, by the way, two amazing things like we laugh about when people use the system. When we first opened the nutrition tracker for the U.S. Navy, they were working with the delayed entry program. And these are people who want to get into the Navy, but they might have weight issues, they might have fitness issues, they might have educational issues and things like that. So they need to learn, or they need to prepare for the fitness standards that need to get in there.
Right.
So the Navy wanted to provide the nutrition tracker as well as educational material for the users. And we get out in the field, a couple hundred people are out there using it, and the first meal that's tracked is a bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos. And
we're top of mind.
And we're like,
really?
That's it. That's what's going on. That's reality.
Yeah.
And it just shows you but what happened was, with that population, over 50% met their weight goals, whether they had an increase or decrease. Wow. Nobody out of the 120 participants in the study, nobody dropped out because of physical issues.
Excellent.
Which is to me
0%. Yes.
We just did an interview in the Navy recruiting command representative quoted that in the article, and I never heard that before. I knew the results were good, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's a real
we got something here.
Result. So, and the military is right now dealing with the same thing that everybody in America is dealing with. Over the pandemic, a lot of people got obese. A lot of people got sedentary. A lot of people removed themselves socially from their groups. And while this is just an app, it's just a piece of technology, but it really is meant to facilitate that one-to-one connection with the people who are there to help you, so that when those folks actually do have to, whether they're joining the military, they're getting back into the gym, they're at their workspace, doing their jobs, knowing that accountability partner, whether it be your peer or your coach or your nutritionist, whoever it might be, can help you through the data. Like that, again, I keep coming back to that same point, but that's the whole reason that we exist.
God, that's powerful. Let's talk more about, again, just, what is it out there? How can you go a little higher level on, the opportunities that are at CoachMePlus right now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we're hiring again. And back to the story. I really kind of
it's good. I mean, that's current though, right? It's a highlight on the gyms and the work you're doing with the armed forces. That's what I asked you about in terms of just the here and the now. What about in terms of joining the team?
So, like I said, we were trying to raise. The market told us, "You're not the next Peloton. We don't want to hear from you, sir."
Right.
They literally hang up on
slam it.
You can. There's if they could slam the no button on the phone, they would have done it.
It's crazy, man.
Or just the soft no of just keep us updated.
Oh, of course. We'll circle back in 6 months.
Yeah,
12 months.
Come back and oh god, it's like Hollywood. It's like the soft no. It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
So we spent about 8 months doing that, and somewhere around October of last year, I was able to show the stock of Peloton sliding off the slope there and everything else, and the gym numbers doing this and going,
Yeah,
kind of
kind
right.
of told you.
And we closed the round. So we just, it's officially not closed until October 9th, but we've got our capital in the door and
Congrats.
the round's wrapped up. And we're hiring again. So
Cool.
looking for, folks to help who understand. I mean, you understand. You're
in this world.
nut job athlete who likes to tinker with his
Run
own data and run
that's
and
right.
everything, right? Like
I love
that's
it, man.
like what
I live for this.
So when you get your Garmin data and you get your Whoop data and things like that, like how are you using it?
Yeah. Oh wow, cool. Reverse host here. What's ironic is I just recently got off of Whoop because I upgraded the Garmin watch because it has just more updated analytics and tracking, I should say, is probably the better word. For me, I like to see what my load levels are. Mm-hmm. So this segments into 3 different types, right? So you've got anaerobic, you've got high aerobic, low aerobic. Yep. So I like to see that. And it does actually have a little coaching aspect, but a lot of times you catch it and you're like, this is just, it's kind of generic, right? Staying at this fitness level will help you maintain fitness for the foreseeable future. It's like, okay, can someone else action that who's like a professional?
How many reps are you going to do tomorrow, by the way? You're like, I don't know, Garmin. Don't
Yeah,
know.
I have no, yeah.
Garmin has no idea.
No. But in terms of just to answer the question, it's like, it's what I look at with the things you're wearing and this and their behavioral change agents, right? Mm-hmm. So when you see something graphically represented, especially with Whoop, I was on Whoop for 2 years, just recently getting off of it. I might go back one day, but seeing that my to bed times and wake times, like instead of being like a consistent for our circadian rhythm, right? And it's like one night's midnight, one night was 9 p.m., one night was, whatever. And then the wake times are all over the place. And I'm wondering, why am I groggy? Why am I not really feeling energized in the morning? Plus, obviously, the analytics themselves of like, what did you eat? It can tell you things because you have the journal feature right in the Whoop. Yeah. Specifically, this has journal too, but it's like tracking. Did you eat a meal 2 hours prior to bedtime? Well, yeah, I did. Well, that probably explains why you didn't sleep well because your body's digesting, and that will raise wake time. So anyway, there's behavioral pieces to it. There's just awareness, right? Like I'm using this because I want to know, like, where is my resting heart rate? Am I trending down? Is my HRV going up? Mm-hmm. So it's cool. And then there's some gamification piece that I don't necessarily use as much as I used to, but not just because we're on the show, but would it be nice to have someone on the other side that could say, because I literally thought about this morning, like I have my workouts where I do, 6 days a week, where I run 5 to 6 days a week. I do strength 3 times. I do HIIT 3 times. I do recovery twice, intentional recovery. And it's like today I was just kind of like, I don't have it preset. So wouldn't it be nice if someone was building that? I'm not even kidding. Like that was this morning where it was willy-nilly. It was like, I was scheduled to do HIIT, but I knew I wanted to do strength just based on the last few days. I had some extra fitness I wasn't expecting. So I'm like, HIIT is just too high level, too up there for me right now. So I'm going to do some steady state fitness with strength. But it just isn't as regimented. So it's like, I'm all over the place. So like, am I trending the right way, or am I just kind of existing? Am I just maintaining? I want to be growing and getting fitter, right? Anyway.
No, and so what you just described in your daily experience is like this passion for fitness that there's a lot of people out there like yourself, and I have a passion for fitness, but I also have a passion for eating too.
I love sweets, man. I wish I didn't.
There have been meetings where you're just like walking out stressed and you just like cram a donut, and my partners have looked at me like, how did you do that so fast? I'm like,
need it. It's in there. Years of prep, man.
In that brain. But we're looking to hire people that have a passion for fitness. Yeah. And there's marketing, software developers, finding passionate fitness software developers are a little harder to find. But that's
almost
okay.
A unicorn.
Just
saying.
It's okay. But our immediate needs are marketing hires and junior software developers.
Got it. Where can they connect with those opportunities? How can we?
So, CoachMePlus.com, obviously there's the LinkedIn job posting pages, Indeed. We have jobs posted on Indeed and a few other places and things like that. So just the standard places to look. But, there's 2 things happening right now. Obviously, one, we're finding our success. We're finding ourselves turning some interesting corners. And the opportunities are there for us to grow. but we're also facing a recession, and in a time where a lot of companies are either looking to pause hiring, turn the needle down a little bit, even laying off. So we're being very deliberate about how we're deploying the capital to the hiring matrix, because the initial plan was like load everybody up and get off to the races, and now it's okay, let's step through as opposed to loading, so that if this recession does become very real and does look like 18 to 24 months, we need to live through that. So everything's sales, right? Like, we can talk about all the cool stuff in the world, like, oh yeah, it does it. But if we're not selling anything, how do you grow? And if we're not bringing in the leads for my sales folks to sell what they're doing, then we're not doing anything.
And that's where the marketing piece comes, the resourcing.
Yeah, so we're stacking the hiring matrix the right way. And our sales folks are former coaches.
So cool.
Like Joe is he's a former strength conditioning coach. He worked for the Bills at a point. He's done personal training. Like, he's been in the space, so he has an inherent passion about what he does here. Rochelle's the same way. She was a former basketball player, basketball coach.
Wow.
And she's done amazing things. Like, she had a couple of weeks off earlier in the year where she was in Africa doing like a coaching clinic and things like that. That's just like some super cool stuff. That's a passion that you cannot build into people. And to have that as part of our team, and actually want to live in this space and be a solution for these lifestyles to improve wellness. It's amazing to have people who believe in that. So we're looking for passionate people to join the team that have a love for fitness and know how to also tinker a campaign for the right SEM and SEO and whatever other.
We'll be sure to put that in the show notes. Yeah, there's a lot. We'll be sure to put that. Come work.
That's cool.
Come join the team. I mean, you've got some really exciting things.
Yeah.
Social, LinkedIn. Where can we find
everything's at CoachMePlus?
CoachMePlus. Yeah. So super simple. Again, all that's in the notes, so we don't have to go through it here verbally, but all that's in the notes. Find Kevin on certainly on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
That's how we formally came together. I mean, we've known each other, I think, kind of from afar through the space, through some startups.
Very interesting, right?
It was cool to see that, just yet another use case for the power of LinkedIn, and how if you really use it the right way and, post and raise awareness about what you're doing, you can do some really cool things outside of LinkedIn because of it. That
is one effect that has changed from when we first started doing business here in 2001, 2002 to looking at what business is like here in Buffalo today.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can have collisions that turn into relationships, that turn into opportunities, didn't exist before. So, it's a great ecosystem to be part of. Who was just on the president's podium?
Spark Charge,
yeah.
Joshua Aviv. Yeah, I saw that. It's amazing. Syracuse, yeah,
right?
He's a $1 million 43rd North winner a few years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And
to be up there.
That's amazing.
For the CHIPS bill.
Yeah, ACV going public.
These stories, huh?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, this has all happened
in
the last 8 years here,
right.
And it's pretty incredible. But it's also given us the problem that it's really hard to find talent now, because a lot of people are working at great places. So yeah, we're living in that space.
Well, appreciate all the insights. Super inspiring what you're doing. I know there's some ways that we're going to continue to kind of, like I say, energize, synergize, catalyze growth.
Yep.
And again, you'll find Kevin on LinkedIn. We'll have everything in the show notes. Check out those openings. You guys are just doing some incredible things. So this is another episode of the Incept Connect podcast. We will see you on the next one, Kev. Thanks for coming up, brother.
Thanks a lot, John.
Good to see you, man. Thanks. Take care.